This is Cindy, and Cindy believes that her OnlyFans business, if you can call it that, I suppose, is prosperous due to her Christian faith. So we're going to listen to Cindy try to defend this idea, explain the idea, and then defend the idea to Andrew Wilson. You don't really need to know who he is. You can Google him if you want to know more about him. But he is a Christian.
By the way, Mike, I just had Burger King this afternoon. So
Oh shit!
keep up the good work. I have noticed that the onion rings are going downhill. I'm just letting you know. You probably know that though because you're a franchise owner. But anyway, so back to this. I just was curious. Does God want you to engage in gangbangs? Has He told you when you were dreaming, for instance, and you had a conversation with God? Did He say, "Thou musteth goeth and get gangbangeth"? Did that conversation happen? Do you think?
No.
No?
But
so how do the
if,
conversations
like,
where God tells you that you must have sex with strangers for money, how does that occur? Can you kind of like give us an overview of how God frames his you need to have sex with men for money conversations with you? I'd like to hear about it.
What is your definition of making money with men?
You have, I'm guessing that you have sexual intercourse with men for the purpose of collecting some type of cash, right?
Right.
Okay, so that would be my definition.
You're right. So
yeah. So what is God? So how does a conversation with God go? Can you like give us a brief overview?
Well, I don't really tell him anything like about my sexual. I just tell him like that I'm blessed with the job that I have. And, I appreciate everything he's already given to me. And
but I thought you said God wants you to do this and you've had conversations with him.
Yeah, like with like OnlyFans, especially, like that's like my work. I have to continue.
Okay, so
like,
you've
do that
had
every single day.
conversations with God about your OnlyFans?
Yeah, to prosper and attract abundance and growth with my business. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So just to make sure that I'm clear,
Hold on. So in order to prosper and grow in the business, just play this all the way out before she gets too lost in the weeds, I guess. Is there any kind of indication that would let us know that God would be any part in allowing something to prosper or grow that is counter positive spiritual nature at all? And really think. Old Testament, New Testament, it's really all we have to go off of. Is there anything anywhere that would indicate that God has any hand in allowing something to prosper or grow that is counter-biblical? No, right? Which is why it's interesting that she said prosper, because it makes you think of prosperity preachers. And think about that for a minute. Prosperity preachers, the ones are famous. They do very well. They make a lot of money. They have a lot of people that listen and watch diligently, who are fans, who are very into it, and who are dedicated. But the money is the real goal, right? That's the prosperity portion of it. And what she's talking about is very similar because she is separated the business advancement and prosperity. You could say prosperity is business advancement if you're doing something productive and ethical. She separated them. This is like fundamental prosperity preaching, where they should be one when used ethically and biblically, but they become two. So growing your business becomes its own thing. That's not prosperity. Why? Because prosperity now is financial gain. Whereas the actual biblical model and just kind of the standard ethical model would be that they are one. Prosperity is general growth. And if prosperity and finances comes with it, cool, great, awesome. But when you separate them, that's the foundation of prosperity preaching, which I think most people understand. I can't say most. Most educated Christian people understand that this is counter-biblical. It's completely counter-biblical. So she's got kind of a poor foundation to begin with, which you already know if she's a Christian or a self-proclaimed Christian who's participating in sex work of any kind. You already know there's a foundational crack somewhere. So then when you hear somebody like that go on to explain, this is why I love when people ask Christians questions, because the minute you start talking to them at all, and I've said this a lot, the minute you start questioning them at all, they completely crumble. She has zero confidence in answering any of these questions because nobody asks her the questions. She can go on Instagram and OnlyFans and Twitter and say, I am a Christian model on OnlyFans, and nobody bats an eye. Nobody thinks about it. Nobody ponders that for a second, like, is this counterintuitive? No, they just accept it. It's okay. You can be immodest and also be a Christian. You can be obsessed with finances and also be a Christian. You can be a total piece of shit and cheat on your spouse and still be a Christian. None of these things cause pause anymore for people. And so the moment somebody like Andrew Wilson, who begins to just ask questions, just explain. He's being very respectful so far. Usually he begins to get not so respectful. But right now he's being totally respectful. The minute he begins asking questions, she has no idea what to say. And she may just not be very bright, so perhaps it's not the best example. But even if she was, and in my experience talking to people who are relatively intelligent, they still crumble almost immediately because they don't know. They've completely combined this secular way of living and thinking, which in essence, many times, is also called sin, and they incorporate it into what they want to believe, which is the theologies within the Christian faith. And at no point do they put them side by side and say, are these things cohesive? What is cohesive? What is not cohesive? Where does this fit? Where does it not fit? Where has my life become a contradiction of the things that I say I believe in? Which is why, always a hot take, these people are not Christians. If you believe in prosperity gospel, you're not a Christian. It's in essence sin. At its foundation, it's sin. It's the obsession of money, which the Bible talks about. You're taking things that are explicitly talked about in the Bible and you're putting them in your life as an idol, which is also explicitly talked about. It's this crazy thing for me where I try to understand how people get there, and I genuinely can't. Anytime I do anything that is like counter-biblical, even if I'm joking a lot of the time, which is totally good intention, I don't mean it, I'm just playing around or talking crap with somebody, I still have a slight feeling like, that's probably not the best thing to say. But I know my intentions, and I know that they're good, and I know that I'm just joking, so it makes it, in my opinion, makes it different. But where people like this can get so confused, but think that they have stability in it, is a really wild thing to me. It's a super wild thing. And this is why Christianity is completely collapsed. It's completely collapsed. I've been saying it is collapsing for a long time. At this point, I don't think it really exists in the majority. So I think there is a minority of people who claim Christianity, who I would say, like, biblically, not my opinion, biblically are Christian people. But I think the majority has become something else. And we've been talking about that a lot, actually, on the live streams recently. If you don't know, we do a couple Bible studies a week live on YouTube. You can go to my profile and hit the live button. You'll see them all. We do Thursday at 7, and we do Sunday at 6. We also have a Discord server, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below. But when we've been talking about a lot recently about how churches are completely broken, and to a point for a lot of people are not worth going to anymore, unless you specifically have a church that you know is, on track. But again, that's a minority, in my opinion. That is my opinion. I think the majority of them are all a part of this broken system, perpetuating brokenness. And I don't think they're worth most people going to. I think they do more damage than good, specifically to newer believers. I think they're better off finding a group of people who actually talk about real things and who actually make you feel guilty sometimes, because you should. I think they're better off doing something like that. Let's see where she goes, though.
You speak to whoever this God is that you're speaking to. You don't actually...
Jesus Christ.
What's that?
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ wants you to do OnlyFans work?
Yeah.
Just so that we're clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, just out of curiosity. If a man offered you $100,000 to sell your soul on a piece of paper to him, would you do it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that you might.
Huh?
Wait, what?
I feel like you going against your whole thing then. That's literally going against. Oh, you're talking to God for.
I think that ever since I moved to LA, I've sold my soul.
Oh,
girl.
so
But
don't put God in whatever you're doing if you've sold your soul. You know, it's like a.
Are you
They
at
don't go hand
peace
in
with
hand there.
yourself?
Yes. I'm finding peace within myself every day.
Who do you think you sold your soul to?
Ooh, baby, it's not God.
To myself.
You sold your soul to yourself. How much did you pay yourself for your own soul? Was it cheap? Or did you,
It was
you
definitely
charge
not
yourself
cheap.
a bunch of money?
I've spent a lot of money on myself, yes.
Yeah, so you charged yourself a lot of money for your own soul. So you sold your soul to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. So, but if a man, you know, some like, I don't know, OnlyFans bum, simp, offered up like $100,000 to you to sell your soul to him, you would do that, right?
Yeah, why not? That's a
Now, what if as part of the contractual deal, he
That's a
says your
pay pig
soul's
right there.
actually going
That's
to
a whale.
Satan? Would you still do it?
Oh, I mean, one, Andrew needs to let her talk because he's not allowing her enough time to hang herself. Luckily, she talked over him and used the term pay pig, which is enough to kind of understand that something is wrong. I think I was kind of right earlier when I said maybe she's just not the brightest star in the sky up there. If space were real. I'm joking. Not the brightest. So that'll play a part. But still, I talk to a lot of really smart people, and it's not much better. It's definitely better, but it's not much better. I do love that several of the other ladies who are secular people, they're not Christian. I listened to this whole thing. They're not Christian. I love that they are telling her that what she's living is not cohesive with the Christian faith. One said that's not God, and then the other one is saying that she's off base from value, and that just out of respect, she said that this girl Cindy shouldn't be saying that. It's a respect thing. You shouldn't be saying that. Our main character here, though, said something. It kind of goes downhill from here, but our main character here, lovely Cindy, said one thing about Jesus, because Andrew asked her, you know, this God who you're speaking to, he's insinuating that it's not God, right? Obviously. And then she kind of went on to say herself that it's not God, because she ended up saying she sold her soul when she moved to LA. Everybody knows who she sold her soul to if she's selling her body for money. But at first, she said Jesus Christ. She literally said the name, which kind of makes you want to cringe. So I want to look at a few things and then we'll be done. This is John 8:11. I'm going to read this section and then a few other things. So this is the woman caught in adultery. Everybody knows the story. Then Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, Lord," she answered. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Now go and sin no more." 3:17 in John. "For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him," which sounds great, and it gets cherry-picked a lot in progressive Christianity. John 5:14 says afterward, which different context, so don't stay in the same frame of mind. I'm picking things out, but to prove a point. Afterward, Jesus found the man at the temple and said to him, different story, "See, you have been made well. Stop sinning, or something may happen to you. Something worse, something bad, depending on your translation. Something bad will happen to you if you continue sinning." There is, again, we talk about aggregating the data in the Bible. You can find contradictory things in the Bible. They exist. So one thing you have to do is aggregate. So if you wanted to know about adultery, you would have to spend some time sitting down with all of the lovely tools that we have now. You don't have to do it in a paper Bible by hand. You can aggregate all of the data in the Bible about adultery, all of it, from the Old Testament, from the New Testament. Once you've aggregated, you pull all that together and then you will find what is actually said about adultery. And then whatever is said the most, whatever is said within context that is more forceful, that is how we kind of decide what our opinions about these things actually are. The improper way is what most people do, which is where they'll come here to 3:17 and they'll say, well, God did not come to condemn. He came to save. Sure. And there are verses like that. They are the minority. The majority are things like this: stop sinning or something bad will happen to you. There are many more verses that are warnings of not great things happening to you, of not having a great life, and not having a great afterlife, should you continue living the way you are. Another one that is my favorite that we talk about a lot: everyone who sins, this is out of 1 John 3, everyone who sins breaks the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness. But you know that he appeared so that he might take away your sins. And in him is no sin. No one who lives in him keeps on sinning. No one who lives in him keeps on sinning. No one who continues to sin has either seen him or known him. And this is where I get a lot of my opinions from due to aggregation. But this section is my favorite that sums up what my opinion of the full aggregated data is. No one who continues to sin has seen him. No one who continues to sin knows him. That's why I say a lot, like this girl Cindy, you can't experience like the other side of reality, call it God, and then continue living how you were yesterday. It's not an immediate drastic shift where you become a totally different person and nothing bad happens and you do nothing wrong. But it is an immediate change in perspective. If it's not, no one continues to sin has seen him or known him. I don't think you saw or know if you continue on exactly how you were yesterday. I immediately question whether someone's telling the truth or whether they had an emotional reaction to something, because that is fleeting. An emotional reaction at a church during worship is not being saved. It's not knowing God. It's not, seeing, metaphorically, the other side of reality that you call God. That's an emotional reaction. So then it makes perfect sense when that person goes back to what they were doing the day before. People have wild emotional reactions all the time, and they think their life will be changed forever, but it's not, because they go right back. Might take a couple days, might take a couple weeks, maybe a couple months or a year. But if it's an emotional reaction, it is fleeting. It's just a matter of time. Verse 7, dear children, do not let anyone lead you astray. The one who does what is right is righteous, just as he is righteous. The one who does what is sinful is of the devil, because the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the devil's work. No one is born of God will continue to sin because God's seed remains in them. They cannot go on sinning because they have been born of God. 4 through 9 in 1 John 3 is the greatest aggregate example of what actually is a Christian. It is someone who does not continue doing what they were doing. Kind of, period. With a little bit of nuance, because we do have indication like things are still going to happen. You're still going to be human. But the majority of life change will happen. If the majority of life change does not happen, then I would argue that person who is continuing to sin has either not seen or known. I think that because of the Bible. Moving on past all of that, we do several live streams a week. We have a Discord server. There's a link to that in the description. And then you can find all of the live events in the events tab on Discord. Also, there's just a lot of really interesting conversations that happen here. We've got a really good group of people that have been here for a while. And if you're trying to actually learn more and are kind of unsatisfied with what you're currently able to find or what is currently being shoved down your throat on social media, it's a good place to start. If you don't like it, leave. No harm done. But that's where you can find all the events. We do Sunday nights and we do Thursday nights. They are at different times, so just keep an eye on that. But they're good. They're deep dives into the Bible, word for word, breaking all of it apart, going into the culture, going into the demographic, going into the other culture surrounding them and how that interacts with what is actually being written about in the Bible. I'd say it's not your average Bible study. So again, try it, check it out, see if it's something that is interesting to you, and if it's not, then bail. No harm done. I love y'all. Stay away from this.